snow first and putting that on as just like a solid coat, very thinly. And then while that coat is still wet, going over it with the lighter colors. And the reason why we want to do that is because if you look at the snow embankment in here, let me choose red so you can see, right? Regardless of the trees and the black stuff in there, it's very smooth in transition from light to dark, all right? So I'm going to show you that first today. Just going to select this blue in here. And so if I look on the spectrum here where that is, do you see this little dot in the blue? That's basically a warmer blue, right? And so when it's warmer, it goes towards our green. When it's colder, it's going to go towards our purple and our fuchsia over here, okay? So that means you'll use a combo of probably gray and that Prussian blue that you own, all right? So what we're going to do is, once again, we are totally and completely ignoring the little trees and stuff in here. We'll add those in afterwards. And I'm just kind of going over what you have in here. So another thing to consider, Nadia, is that we still have, to blend this kind of up into our tree line and the stuff we've done already. So I would also suggest, before you start laying that color down, actually, maybe grabbing this darker blue, right? So it's in the same spot. It's the Prussian blue that we would use for the blue mixture. It's just a little bit darker. So we'd probably use like the Prussian blue and the black together. And what we'll do is, once this blue is down, that kind of medium tone blue I put down there, we'll go ahead and use that black and blue Prussian mixture and do a glaze over this hard line that we have. Sort of like that. And so it'll kind of make everything kind of blend in a little bit better. If you lose it completely, that's okay, because we'll probably end up going over that anyway with a little bit of a lighter color. So I would suggest, once you do that, take a clean, dry brush and kind of fuzz that glaze out that you did, just like that. All right, so it doesn't create a hard line, especially on like these trees here, because they're pretty dark, right? And kind of glaze that up like that. All right, so the next step here, and so remember, once again, both this mid-tone in here and then that dark Prussian color that we did should all be very thin. The dark Prussian color should be the thinnest, since it's a glaze. But the first one I laid down should be, you should still be able to see a little bit of that texture of the canvas underneath, all right? So the next thing I'm going to do, select down here, this color, go to my little color palette, and notice how it's pretty much smack dab in the middle between the greenish and the more purplish blue. So I would suggest maybe you could mix the two blues together and add a light gray, all right? We'll consider this neutral blue since it's not pulling toward purple and it's not pulling toward green. We're gonna mix those two blues together and then add a very light gray to it, all right? And then what we'll do here is come in and try and see through the trees. So one thing I'm noticing is that, let me pick red for a sec, the sun is probably over here somewhere, and it's shining, but it's also coming through in here. And as a result of that, that's why this area directly underneath it is lighter, and then the sides are darker, okay? But we want it to be a seamless blend, all right? So I'm going to suggest that you use a slightly thicker version of this lighter color, right? So remember, we're always thinking fat over lean, and fat over lean not only applies to the amount of oil you put in your medium, but it also applies to how much paint you're laying down on the surface there. right? So notice that I'm starting this light blue color right where it's lightest. And then as my brush kind of runs out of paint, so to speak, I'll kind of pull that across on both sides. Right, so it looks something like that. And then we can take a clean, dry brush again, kind of blend this guy in a little bit more. All right, so we want to think of it as being as smooth a blend as possible, much like how you created the sky in here. Okay. Any questions so far?